IRGC is a useful enemy to have, the real enemies of American progressives. I'm done speaking, Gary. Thank you for welcoming an erudite, contrary point of view to your...
I don't know whether erudite... I don't think it fit the definition of either erudite or well-educated. Right. That's what I was starting.
And my takeaway is his foreign policy is basically murder is good.
Well, he wants the Arabs killing the Arabs.
Well,
That's what it comes to. He hates the Muslims.
Yeah, just so he can get
and he wants
yes, just so he can
right,
get...
he wants, right.
I guess that was a hit and run. Did the regime of Iran, it came to the power yesterday? Last 47 years, these Arab countries, the Sunnis, the population couldn't get together in 47 years and take care of this murder in Iran, right? And now he is coming to tell me, oh, it's going to happen, this is going to happen, it's already. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's obvious that increasingly, this whole pan-Arab dream of Nasser is gone. The Arab nations are learning that they want to get along with the West, and they want to engage in international commerce, and they want to get rich, and they want us to get rich. They want everybody benefits. That's really what the Abraham Accords leads us to. Increased commerce, which is a good thing. If we are trading partners with people, we are all trading with one another, and we both benefit from one another, that's a much better mutually exclusive, mutually beneficial and mutual assured destruction on the other side of the coin than nuclear weapons, because it's a positive, it's a carrot, not the stick, to keep us getting along with one another. You don't have to agree with the philosophies of these various nations, but if we're trading with one another and we are exchanging not just commerce but culture with one another, that keeps us going as a society. We are no longer able to say that we are in our little cocoons in our various nations, and what happens elsewhere in the world doesn't affect us. It does affect us. Even Americans recognize that now, following 9/11. So, to suggest that we want a huge conflagration in the Middle East, because, we'll have Muslims killing Muslims, which I believe is really what he is suggesting here. And he's so angry at progressives, because progressives may be against war, I don't know. Either that or he's
Oh my God.
But I allowed him his opportunity to speak unimpeded, so I don't want it to be said that I only allow a certain point of view on this stage. There's a person
and he kicked me before that, so he definitely content narrates, and he does create echo chambers.
Gary, as a follow-up to that, I really want to thank you for allowing him to go on, even though I thought what he had to say was absolutely despicable. This should not be about personalities, and it should not be about whether you're a Democrat or Republican.
I thought you did.
I started actually to start with that. And they were vague. And these are all traits that many conservatives have allowed themselves to fall into. I am very grateful that my good friend Marshall, for what he had to say today. To me, this is about trust as much as it is about anything else. And I don't trust Trump at all, and I don't think it's worth even giving this idea that this could be right or wrong any airspace.
Has a lot of beautiful views. This might be the reason why. Right. Before you go to your next video, check this real quick. Most people get this part, and it's costing them reach.
It doesn't matter. The Republican Party, as this guy said, if it benefits from this deal because gas prices come down, that shows to me that the Republican Party is not interested in anything except self-interest. I don't want to pay taxes, but I want to have the benefits of a society. I want to have low gas prices. I don't care about the future. We have gone from American exceptionalism, which Republicans used to like to talk about, to American mediocrity or lower. And I think that rather than wringing our hands,
well, Alan, it's partially part of its arrogance. It's the arrogance in believing we somehow are great because we just are.
Yeah.
It's a real lack of appreciation and gratitude for all of the sacrifices and all of the time it took us to get to a place where we are this big and this influential. It's a luxury belief for these people.
I love that point, Marshall, and I'm really glad that Gary has allowed this to go on. We've had some rather heated discussions, and I think that the peaceniks are part of the problem, because sometimes people are so eager to maintain peace and an environment of peace that we don't get to real issues. And I think that's one of the dangers of liberal thinkers in general. And I'm not a Democrat, but I find in many cases my Democrat friends are too eager to make peace. I wonder if discussions like the ones you and I had, Marshall, a couple of years ago, or within the time we've had of this, have led to a deeper respect for one another and appreciation that, we can disagree, but we can find the areas where we truly do agree. And
I think our conversations definitely did produce that greater trust. One of my kind of key takeaways, both from conversations like we've had and then from my own political experience, is if you tear, you can't build and solve a problem. And it's about solving problems. So if you can't solve the problem, then you're not doing the right thing. Right? And to solve the problem, it means I have to.
They're so stupid, it's incredible. It's like a circle jerk for bugs.
Right? It's an explicit ask that I see you as a complex human, not as a flattened human. And I think when we flatten other people in that way, en masse, regardless of some values sit on, you wind up with much more vociferous discussions about it, because people don't see each other as real. They see each other as some sort of totem for the other party or the other idea. If you have to see somebody as human and complex, you're far more likely to respect them rather than dislike them.
Amen.
Amen. The green bean has spoken and interrupted yet again. Unsolicited.
Let's look back at the League of Nations.
Yes, let us look back at the League of Nations and that successful venture that we poured so much of our blood, sweat, and treasure into.
The United States joined the League of Nations, we might have prevented World War II. And I think that the reason we didn't join the League of the Nations partially is because Congress said no. Where the hell is Congress or anything else in this agreement? We talk about we talk about the need for agreement, and I do appreciate Gary's reading of this, and the point 14 is incredibly interesting. But how dare Trump assume that he can speak for the Security Council of the UN? And if this MOA goes into effect, now
no, not yet. The filing is in July or
now
August.
and whenever that goes before the UN or the UN Security Council, that allows the Iranians to do even more. So talk seriously about the 25th Amendment, talk seriously about impeachment, or talk seriously about passing
This is the Trump derangement syndrome show.
in Congress that says we, the United States, do not endorse this agreement. And Gary, I will leave it there.
If you really want to remove the president from office, it has to be done by the Republicans, not the Democrats. Just ask anybody who was around when Richard Nixon was removed from office. Thank you, Alan. We'll go to Merrill, followed by Brian.
Still kind of struck by what you wrote, what you read, and what you said. I didn't hear anybody, I didn't hear anyone mention Israel. I don't remember hearing what the supposed agreement is going to be as regards Israel.
As it was written, it does not mention Israel, but it does mention ending all hostilities in the region, including Lebanon. So that's a reference without mentioning Israel to Israel. But Israel's not a party to the Memorandum of Understanding. So if in fact what Ella published and I read is accurate, it's just what are you going to do? Hold the United States responsible for the actions of Israel, a sovereign nation? Or say that the United States is in default? The United States isn't in Lebanon. So how do you reconcile that? I don't get that, Carol.
I don't understand. I also don't understand, Israel's in Lebanon for a reason. I don't understand, somewhere along the lines, someone's got to be, and I'm not saying it's our God. I'm not just saying that when we make it, if we were to make that kind of agreement, which, by the way, Trump was pretty tough on Israel today, very tough. I don't know if you heard, he said he didn't like Netanyahu bombing apartments and killing civilians. I thought that was pretty hypocritical of him, because he never said that to Russia about Ukraine. So I mean but Russia doesn't have anything to do with this agreement, so he can go along with that. I am flabbergasted because I'm not quite understood. I wrote down some of what you said, but I couldn't do it fast enough. I was typing it. What I don't understand is, ultimately, what do we get? What do we get versus what we're giving away? What are we, I understand, I believe Axios...
Meryl's like the ultra MAGA critic. She's like more extreme than the extremists every single time. Trump did nothing to do with generals. He didn't blow up Iran enough. Crazy. These are like, there's two types of Democrats. There's like the socialist communist Democrats that are anti-war, and then there's...
Do you want me to tell you what we're gonna get? We're gonna get middle finger from Iranian, Mike.
Well, that's what I think we are being told by the people in the know are saying. Look, we went in because we said we could never trust Iran. That's the whole thing, was we could never trust Iran. So now we give them lots of money, and yes, the Gulf states give them lots of money. They will have access. By the way, it just says they're giving it. It doesn't sound like it's really performance, based on performance, because some of this money is coming to them rather quickly. And that still doesn't address, are we giving money to the Gulf states? Are there side deals where we have to give money to the Gulf states because of everything that was done to the Gulf states? And so are they turning around and putting a reconstruction fund together so that it doesn't look like the U.S. is giving directly to Iran? I'm very cynical, and I don't quite understand what we're getting, other than, okay,
What am I gonna get?
those are gonna be,
What am I gonna get out of this? If I do this, what do I get?
And that's just kind of the direction we hope we can go in. I mean, that's just a whole lot of, haven't we said that for years? And it didn't work out? I'm baffled by this. But I'm not gonna tell you that I think it is completely outrageous that Trump would sign it, because I think that Trump is of the mind of, I wanna get out of here, just come on, I'm busy. Just get it over with. I think that that's his personality. Gosh, I hope there's something more that we get, because by the way, terrorists don't just terrorize in other nations, they terrorize here too. Thank you.
And I will once again repeat, as I shall again and again, that we do not know whether what I read that Al Arabia reported, I accurately read what they reported, but we don't know whether that really is what the memorandum of understanding says. But it's written in a way that it sounds like it's what was written, but whether it was a final draft or not, I can't say, and we won't know until it's ultimately released. Thank you, Meryl. This is as close as we've gotten to seeing at least a draft of it.
Do we have anything to compare? Can we compare it to what Obama had? Can we compare it?
Well, I don't have time to go against the JCPOA, but I'm sure people will. I think people definitely will after whatever they sign on Friday, presuming they do sign on Friday, is released. Presuming they release what they signed, presumably on Friday. Boy, there are a lot of presumablys that we have to put in here, because we just don't know whether any of this is really going to occur, do we? Thank you, Meryl. Go to Brian, followed by Montse.
Hey, Gary. I agree with Meryl. I think she's right. I think that Trump is front-loading a lot of this and not expecting a lot in return in the short term. I think looking at this through a political lens, he's trying to get through the midterms. So he's going to front-load some money, some pullback of military troops. I have no belief. I have zero belief that he would agree to remove any permanent installations. I think from what I've read, they're agreeing to move some of the naval assets out of the immediate area and, not send any new or additional troops into the area. So I think that's being spun by the Iranians or others as a pullback of troops and, things like that. So I think it's just, spin that the Iranians and some of their, allies are spinning it as we're pulling back. I think it's just the temporary, removal of the naval assets in the immediate area.
Well, that may be so, but that's not what Al Arabia published. That's not what they published. Let's see. United States. The United States also undertakes to withdraw its forces from the surrounding areas within 30 days after the final agreement. Now, maybe that's the naval fleet, but maybe it's all the forces. And I will tell you, Al and I both know a woman who has become a spokesperson for the regime, maybe ex-officially, and she's publishing the argument, and she's been doing this for several weeks now. Yay, we're going to get rid of all those American bases. They're all going to leave. And the Iranians have said that that's a goal of this war that they have. So if in fact that's what this means, and I don't know that it does, but I will read it again, verbatim as published by Al Arabia. The United States also undertakes to withdraw its forces from the surrounding areas within 30 days after the final agreement. So to me, that's all the bases. It doesn't say which forces, so that would mean all forces, in my interpretation anyway.
He can't remove the bases without congressional approval. So, the likelihood that happening with congressional.
He can keep the bases, but only keep a skeleton crew there. He can order the troops. He's the commander-in-chief.
I think there's
Deployed elsewhere.
I think it's more plausible, much more plausible to believe that they would just move the carrier groups out into, a farther reach of the sea adjacent. They're not going to completely leave the area, and he's definitely not going to permanently remove bases and troops. He can't do that without congressional approval. So I think they're just trying to spin it. But I think what's going to happen is he's going to give them some low-hanging fruit. He's going to give them some easy wins so that they stop terrorizing the Strait of Hormuz. He wants oil to flow and
The spice must flow!
Prices stabilize, gas prices come down, and he wins the midterms. And then he knows. I think there's not a single person in the world who believes that they will follow through with all of the requirements in any agreement. Even if they do benefit financially or materially from any MOU or subsequent treaty that's created. So what he's trying to do, and I guess this is maybe a little cynical or pessimistic or political, if you will, I think he's just trying to get through the midterms, either to give them some low-hanging fruit, get everything to calm down for the next 3 to 6 months, and then when they invariably violate some aspect of the MOU or agreement, probably the investigations or the inspections, of the and removal of the uranium.
I find that utterly abusive and offensive to men and women in uniform.
Here we go, Marshall speaking for the soldiers.
Not that
Utterly abusive and offensive.
but that they effectively function as a political cudgel for the president. He's supposed to have more honor than that. We're not supposed to use them that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Partisan using of
We're not supposed to use them that way. You're not supposed to use them that way.
Republic's down. Aside from the fact
This
that
is Chicago News Incorporated.com.
I agree. That's a legitimate debate, and I think it is, if I'm right, I think it is, reprehensible.
The spice must flow.
If he does lose the House and Senate, then his administration
way
will
that
fall down in all kinds of political gamesmanship from the Democrats with impeachments or investigations or whatever else comes from that. So he's probably looking at it by.
So what? You don't win the crass political majority by sacrificing the honor of U.S. troops. That is so crass.
It's so crass.
That's a legitimate argument.
It's so crass.
If I get bogged down, if I lose the midterms and get bogged down in all these personal domestic investigations and all that, and we lose focus, then we're right back where we started, and whatever gains we've accrued over the last 6 months or 9 months, by that time, will have been for naught. So he's probably looking at it like, I need to cool things down, normalize or stabilize the economy, reduce gas prices, and then, whatever happens after that, because no administration is going to...
Mental retardation and brain rot, and I can't possibly be a part of that. Long-term strategic American loss.
Nobody can trust the RTC. The only thing we can do...
I didn't say you could trust him. I said by doing what he's doing, he is sacrificing American strategic capital.
I'm agreeing with you.
He's doing it in a way that is detrimental to the future of the United States.
Look at the alternative. That we continue to build up power, influence, weaponry, missiles, and nuclear material. So, the alternative is worse. And as bad as what you're describing and what I'm describing could be, if I'm right, the alternative is worse.
The alternative is not worse. Sacrificing your honor. No, sacrificing your honor for political gain means nothing. In particular,
nuclear weapon is worse.
in particular, when we didn't arrange our forces in a way to get nuclear weapons out of the country in the first place. If we were gonna do it, we should have invaded the place. We should have raised 1 million additional troops. We should have gone to Congress, gotten the buy-in of the American public, and then asked our allies instead of demanding them like vassal states. We didn't.
Vassal
states. And the fact that in your mind it's somehow, I don't want to say acceptable, but like, in a way that like you seem to be okay with, sacrificing the honor of men and women in uniform.
Getting a nuclear weapon, yes.
Bro, but to not get a nuclear weapon, you have to invade the place. We're not invading the place.
Well,
we don't have the money or the public support.
That's not off.
Air power is one thing, but air power doesn't get you to hidden bunkers or silos. It doesn't get you the uranium.
That's why
you have the military forces to do that.
He's not taking that off the table, Marshall.
Well, let me correct a misconception that was stated here, because while you two guys have been talking, I've been doing what I like to do, research. And it turns out that it's a misconception that the president cannot close the bases. So, according to the Justice Department, as Commander-in-Chief, the President holds inherent constitutional power to deploy and manage U.S. troops and military assets abroad. This authority includes closing or relocating overseas facilities, as these are typically considered executive actions rather than declarations.
If we were going to do it, we should have invaded the place.
It's called the BRAC exemption, and this comes from the Congressional Research Service. And they say, or it says, comprehensive domestic base closures and realignments require a congressional process known as BRAC, base realignment and closure. However, this legislation explicitly applies to domestic installations within the United States. Overseas bases are exempt from this process, freeing the president from the legislative hurdles required for domestic closure. Now, while what I just read is true, there can be congressional pushback, because while the executive branch has the unilateral authority to shut down a base, Congress can create indirect obstacles. If lawmakers disagree with a base closure, they can leverage their constitutional power of the purse, because it costs money to close the bases. But I don't know whether that would be even something worth considering by this current Congress, which seems to go hand in glove with anything the president wants to do. But maybe they would show some cojones and give pushback. But your statement, Brian, I'm sure you didn't mean to be inaccurate, but was based on a misconception.
Yeah, I just think there's zero chance that's going to happen. Trump is not going to fight to remove bases from the region. I mean,
well, then why would he agree? Why would he agree to it if, in fact, this memorandum? Why would he agree to it if, in fact, again, this caveat, which I will repeat again, I'm sure, if, in fact, what I read from Al Arabia of what this memorandum of understanding purports to require, if that is accurate, why would he sign it in the first place if he doesn't intend to do it?
if he intends to close the bases, I'll eat my hat.
Well, okay, but then why would he agree to this memorandum?
Because it's being misinterpreted, it's being mischaracterized. He only
how's it being mischaracterized?
Because they're going to pull back on the carrier group out of the immediate.
How do you know it's being misconstrued? Well, how do you know that's being misconstrued?
Things that are off the table.
Because I can read.
It was military, the political culture was one of them.
So you're saying that the way you construe it inherently is correct, and the way that I construe it is incorrect.
I'd say I'm more likely to be correct, yes.
Said that, probably.
Are you talking for us, Marshall, or for somebody else's benefit? I don't know whether he's trying to take the mic or not. It's hard to tell.
No, sorry, I didn't know my microphone.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. All I can say is
Marshall Rankin, Hidalgo County, Texas, Republican, Trump's arrangements of Calls for
was in the
invading Iraq
memorandum
with
of
1 million
understanding.
U.S.
And
soldiers.
the way it is written, and you could be correct, but
When it's out of the country in the first place.
people can decide for themselves
If I invaded the
what
place.
it says, and maybe a lawyer here can explain it better than you or I, Brian. Quote, the United States also undertakes to withdraw its forces from the surrounding areas within 30 days after the final agreement. It does not specifically say the naval forces, but maybe that's what it means. Thank you, Brian. We'll go to Monsef, followed by Len.
Thank you, Gary. If the 14 points that you read turned out to be true, the art of the deal could be really something that the Iranians start saying that they invented, not Donald Trump. Anyway, the seems like from the beginning of the war to now, the priorities or the goals, I guess, for the Iran war have shifted dramatically. I mean, the first week we're talking about this is it. We waited 47 years for a murderous regime to exist, and we're not going to allow this anymore. They're going to have to give up the what they call a nuclear dust. It's not dust; it's 970 pounds of enriched uranium. Completely give it up. Even said it was going to be transferred to the United States. What else? Oh, regime change. I guess to make a point that we actually achieved that, he said yesterday, I'm talking about the president, that the new regime is much nicer. It's not. All the analysts out there say that the regime is actually expected to be much harsher than the previous one. I know the son of the Ayatollah is in control, but in Iran there is, I don't know where's Alan. In Iran there is multiple hierarchies and multiple, degrees of if one is not in control, the others pick up. The IRGC is still in control. The son of the Ayatollah, although he's disfigured, still has a lot of stay. But most of all, the situation for the Iranians didn't change. Yeah, they haven't been another 50 or 60,000 murders on the street. There have been a lot of instances where people were hanged. It was an 18-year-old rapper that was hanged because he said, whatever. Still, people are still being pursued for posting stuff on social media and all that. So again, that initial promise that Iranian people go out, we are with you, again, didn't pan out. Add to that, there have been 38 times now that we have been told that a deal is about to be signed. Not in the works, but we are very close to signing. Basically, we just have to meet and sign, only to be countered by the Iranians saying, we didn't agree to any of this stuff that he's talking about. Only to go back and say, well, I guess they didn't agree, there's no deal. I mean, when you do it 38 times in 90 days, I don't know that signifies strength. But anyway, I have a question for you, Gary. Alan might be the right one to answer me. 20 plus $billion that is expected to be given to Iran right away. And on top of that, there is a reconstruction fund of over $300 billion. I wonder what type of planes are we going to use to transport the cash. I know it's not all coming from the U.S., but I mean, he said before again that Iran is not going to get a dime. So at the end, after this, the only thing that Iran lost, and I guess it wasn't a big loss because I was going to say their Navy vessels and their Air Force, they never had a strong Air Force. Iran always relied on its geography. Yes, the
the naval force was good to control the Strait of Hormuz, but that area of the water with the money that they're going to be getting, that would be so easily reconstructed like in no time. The missile counts, even though we were told that we destroyed them. I mean, there's like nothing left. Reports coming out from I think it was the Jerusalem Post, that said more than 50% of the long-range missiles are still in existence. So I mean, I hear people talking about, yeah, there is an election coming, and I don't know why Marshall thinks it's actually dishonorable for the president to use the troops in such a manner. But again, we're talking about Trump, so.
Because I think it makes them overtly political in an institution which is explicitly supposed to be apolitical. I'm not saying it's not been done. I'm saying every time it is done, it's wrong.
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's not it. Everything that we think that our president is wrong about something, he embraces it as a badge of honor, thinking that he is the bravest president that would do something that other presidents didn't do. But I'll give you an economic explanation. I mean, we went into 90 days, I guess. There is a Linda. Give you the real name, Linda Bilmes. She's a Harvard economist, and the estimation for the cost, they call it an economic cost.
Never compromise on any point.
30 billion to 1 trillion.
If you're a small car
That
creator,
includes the munitions that we use. That includes the taking care of the veterans.
47 years for a murderous regime to exist, and we're not going to allow this.
Cost in the U.S. So, you know, even if you just use the real, Pentagon numbers, you're still talking about close to $200 billion. The new budget, he wanted 1.5 trillion to cover some of the cost of the Iran war. But, that's what I said in the beginning, the priority shifted because the reality of the war shifted. We thought we were going to be in and out. He was told that it's going to be an excursion. The hurt is going to be so short, and then we're going to enjoy these lasting good things like Iran with no nuclear weapons and not financing these terror groups in the region, and it's not posing any threat to its neighbors. None of this stuff is said that it's not going to happen. Even the promise that anything nuclear, that they're going to give up anything nuclear or reduce enrichment or whatever. Even, the stuff that I read was only like in about 60 days, we'll start talking about it. Like, there's no set promise that, we agree that we're never going to enrich, and we agree that we're never going to go after the bomb, which Trump said that was going to be the cornerstone of any deal. But we are in the summer travel season. We are getting close to the midterms. There is a lot of pressure on the president. We did not achieve the goals that he himself stated that, were the objectives of this war. So, it's more of maybe a temporary surrender to the U.S. than a victory. I hear people talking about, aren't you going to be happy when gas prices are finally going to be lower? They were lower in February, so it's almost like you put up a fire, and then you're going to be claiming victory when you put it down with water. That's not a victory. We just got something back that we already had, but the destruction on American family budgets and all that's going to take months to get back. A lot of people went into debt. A lot of people are
Iranians are moving to third world nations in order to
That
survive.
That too, but the people with jobs and all that, I mean, people are dipping into
Good
that.
work,
So
Democrat.
the pressure is trying to, and it seems
Good work, Democrat
like right
clown.
now that it's unending. At the end of this, if this memorandum of
$1 billion.
understanding is true, Iran is gonna basically be the same, with the promise that, oh, later in the future, we'll talk about stuff. But I haven't seen anything that they're gonna give up anything. They are going to get money, which before, at least we weren't talking about Iran getting richer. It was nothing about money. I heard J.D. Vance, yeah, I'll finish here. J.D. Vance talked about we're going to have this carrot and stick thing with Iran. Whenever they do, they give up
Tower
something.
of Lies and propaganda, taxpayers slaved $300 million into infrastructure improvement, and Obama the black cosplayer and CIA puppet ripped off his black contractors. Good work, Democrat. $1 billion scam and waste of space. He could have bought 50 skyscrapers, then 10 struggle for the price of one Conde star.
Into their coffers. So at the end, you still have the same oppressed people in Iran being killed by the same regime that Trump now decided was actually a friendlier regime. I don't know what, how he defined that. We lost our allies. I don't know if any of you saw the president yesterday in France. When he went to meet Macron. Macron didn't come out to meet him. He actually sent the chief of protocol to greet him. And I guess they didn't make a big deal. I mean, coming out of the car. And Macron met with every president that was invited. That's the rule when you're the host country. And especially with Trump. I mean, that's like, he's the big guy. So they usually used to make the time to make sure that he gets his proper protocol because he liked that. So, and then he said, Macron told him, sorry, I was busy talking to the Brazilian president, Lula. That's why I didn't come out to greet you. But that was, the French media definitely made a point that no, that was expected because of all the trash talk that Trump was talking about France, especially the last couple of days with the 100% again increase in tariffs and all that. So again, we're losing our allies. The allies don't believe that it's a long-term deal that's going to stand and that's going to solve the problem. That's all I have to say, Gary. I'm still wondering what kind of planes are we going to use to transport the cash.
So, so the
47 years for a murder.
your last comment brings to mind how Republicans went crazy about how there's no respect. He can't earn the respect. What a piece of crap president wearing a tan suit Obama was because of the improper protocol when he was rudely greeted at the airport in Beijing. And here you have the same thing with this president, and I don't hear such outrage about it. The money, you talked about the money. And since you raised the issue of the money, it's far more than the $300 billion that you mentioned. And I just want to read those 2 points again in what Al Arabia claims is the final memorandum of understanding that will be signed on Friday, even though we don't know that this is accurate reporting, but this is all that we have. So here are the 2 points that I would like to reiterate about money, because Monsef is correct. The president did say Iran's not going to get any money. We're not going to release any money through Iran. Number 6, the United States undertakes, together with its regional partners, to create a comprehensive plan agreed upon by both parties for the rehabilitation and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran, while ensuring financing of at least $300 billion. The implementation mechanism of this plan, as part of the final agreement, will be formulated within 60 days. And the next one is number 10. The United States undertakes that immediately after the signing of this memorandum of understanding and until the date of the lifting of sanctions, the United States Treasury Department will issue waivers for exports.
I don't know.
Also, they have most probably their head of federation, football federation. Okay, so they didn't let either of those inside of United States for Iranian soccer team, and now they're asking.
It's allegory, it's parable. Not so much parable.
Real.
And then people are like, oh, well, why were you so hard on Nazim? People ain't gonna like you. I'm like, they don't like me now.
Well, it's funny because Illumi was in the other room, and he and I really got at it, really heated, you know, his usual attacks. And what was funny is, on the very next issue, he and I were like in complete agreement, and everybody was like, let's not talk about this anymore, this is boring.
Like the firework.
For real.
See, the only thing we can do. I didn't say you could trust him. I said by doing what he's doing.
Lumi is not allowed to hear no more. It's threatening. My wife's
See about that. We'll see how long that fucking lasts. Listen, if Nazim is allowed back in here, if he's then I guess eventually Mikhail will be also.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think Nazim's more reasonable than some of these other people.
That is true.
Really?
Oh my god, he hates Nazim. Lumi's like the song Beggars from Never High.
His arm just
Like the
because of
Lumi's like the prodigal son that Bob never had. Nazim is the friend of that son who is sleazy.
Yo, he's the stepchild. He's not even blood.
He's the adopted stepchild.
Not even adopted. Adopted means who wanted him.
You're not allowed to adopt in Islam.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like
You know why they're not allowed to adopt in Islam, right?
Listen, let's not get into that. Well, this is the question. This is the question we got for you. We did this all day today. Okay? We did this all day today. Hold on, let me mute Smile because he got one mic. So, Euro, when was the first time? I had a mute you. I thought you was open mic. My bad. All right. So Euro, when was the first time you heard about the Aisha story? What you know? Do you remember?
13th, 20.
No. Not the date, but do you remember? Like your reaction is all I'm saying. Like, did you initially believe it? Was it something you're like, wait, I gotta look into this? Like, were you still in denial after you found out the truth? Like, what is it like? Let's do that process. Like, what happened when you first found out this stuff? Like, I'm not talking about like polemics or anything like that.
You mean that she was 6 years old?
Yes, and they consummated the marriage at 9. Like, when did you find that out, and how old were you?
Lies and propaganda.
I didn't
Takes
find
clear
out
slave
until I
200
was
million
fairly
to
old.
infrastructure
It's just
improvement.
something
Obama the Black
Yeah,
House
it's
cleared
into it.
CIA puppet ripped off his
But like
black
the first time I
contract.
heard that was like,
Good
wow,
work,
this-
Democrat. $1 billion scam on racist
I
space.
was over the age of 40 when I heard this shit.
Yeah, and then what makes it worse? Like, I mean, everybody knows how bad it is. Like 6-year-old marriage, 9-year-old consummation. But then I learned he was 50. That like changes it to like a whole nother level of bad, you know.
Well, I bring up the story about that guy, the how do you call it? The mathematician from India. That was like self-taught.
Yeah, Ramanjana.
And he had a child marriage, but he was also like a teenager.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like very different when you have like 2 14-year-olds marry, or a 14 and a 15-year-old, let's say.
Well, that's the thing, right? They got married. Yeah. I think she was like 10, 11, 12, and he was like 13 or 14, but they didn't live together until he was old enough
to get a job. And then the family let her live with him.
Yeah, and to me that's like very different. But when you have a 50-year-old,
And no one brings that up. No one ever brings that up about that guy.
yeah,
They don't. They just don't.
yeah, it's a totally different thing. I mean, the whole Romeo and Juliet story. I mean, they're both were very young, but the thing is, it's different when you're talking about two young people who say they're in love and get married, and you have a 50-year-old marrying a 6-year-old. I mean, I don't know anybody that is serious could say like, oh yeah, that's not problematic. I mean, it's just crazy.
So Euro, when I first found out, I thought myself that he did this because he wanted to adopt her.
Yeah, and then you find out the consummation at 9.
Then yes, because then you see, if there was no consummation story, I would have been like, yo, this guy's a good dude.
Yeah, that could be.
Probably was gonna get sold off.
At least it's possible.
Yeah, she was gonna get sold off. He was like, no, at least I could save one girl. You know what I mean? Teach her the Quran, not pollute her with fucking semen, like it says in every other fucking story.
No, what Muslims say is that she was his.
In fact, if I recall, and I can go back and read it again, I don't want to do that. I'm tired of reading the darn thing. It talks about a time period under which it would take before the passages through the Strait of Hormuz is back to pre-war levels. So it's not going to happen overnight like the president said. Yes, we saw last night, and for sure, if this thing is signed on Friday, I think once again, in anticipation of things returning, the price of oil will fall once again. That's my prediction. And that'll be great. And the president can tout that. And by the way, if things go south after that, well, he's got his piñata already hanging from the ceiling of the Oval Office, and that piñata is in the shape of Bibi Netanyahu. If things go bad, he could just take that stick and slam that piñata. Take this, Bibi. Take that, Bibi. He already is doing that. So that provides him cover should things not work well, should the price of oil go back up because of hostilities between Israel and Iran. That's not my fault. That's Bibi's fault. You can blame those damn Israelis, or at least Bibi, for that. And he would escape, he hopes, I think, the ire of the voters during the midterm elections. It's actually a brilliant strategy if you stop to think about it. Thank you, Les. We'll go to David, followed by R. Mays.
Oh man, a lot to absorb, Gary. A lot to absorb. You know, Iran, like the United States, as an empire, just got lucky in terms of their geography, in terms of their mountains, in terms of their control of this waterway. Very similar to, what we had as a nation building colonial the British Empire, and the fact that we were able to be buffered by two large oceans. I think the only empire in history, and Marshall's not here to corroborate, but I think we're the only empire in history that are surrounded by two big oceans. And that's given us a lot of luxury to decide how we engage the international world when it comes to conflicts. And Iran is now able to, punch above its weight quite dramatically here with this Hormuz situation, and bringing our great nation to heel. And I think it's such a bad deal, Gary, that you've got congressmen, you've got senators saying, "Oh, I haven't read it yet. Josh Hawley, Wicks, Senator Wicks, who's on the Armed Services Committee, they're basically telling the press they don't know what's in there, right? Because they know, like you said, Gary, as soon as the devil's so the president is going to have to figure out a way to sell it, not just to the Iranians, but to us. And we may not have a choice in how it gets settled. And of course, the laughing stock of all this, Gary, is that Obama was eviscerated in talk shows, Fox News, and giving Iran pallets of cash, and being criticized for being disloyal and committing treason. Our president just took it. I mean, took blow after blow. And where's the reckoning for Trump? I want to see the same reckoning for this deal, Gary. I brought up a horrible comment in the room yesterday, and I apologize for how inflammatory it was, but I can't seem to think that any Israelis or Jews in America are happy with this either. And it's where's our alliance? Where's the investment that will be made on both sides? You're right. Israel's being used now because Trump can play both sides and probably tell Bibi, listen, Bibi, I'm gonna have to embarrass you a little bit here on the national stage. Don't worry, your people still love me. I can still be prime minister if I wanted to. He's got that bluster, he's got that hubris, Gary, that I think is in a way not serving either one of our nations very well here. And so, Gary, I think at the end of the day, big business spoke, big oil, big insurance, all the corporations that have to still live off of this resource that we found over 150 years ago plus. It speaks to what the international community really should be doing, which is finding a way to get off this damn oil as quickly as possible. If we want to tame this Islamic fundamentalism in Iran, we need to get off oil as fast as we can. Otherwise, they're in the catbird seat for however many decades that we have to continue to rely on this substance. And there's nothing in the world to replace it yet. We can't run our militaries off of solar. We can't run our military off of we used to run it off of coal, but off of wind. So we need to figure this out before we continue to potentially bankrupt the world economy, which I believe we're really on the verge of getting. So, Howard, you might have a question. Howard. Anyway, that's all I got, Gary. I'll go ahead and land and let others speak.
So, David, let's go back to the origins of the MAGA movement. I think there were two chants that were the most prevalent. The first one was, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And the other one was, drill, baby, drill, drill, baby, drill, drill, baby, drill. Now, he was not successful in locking her up. And perhaps he was never serious about locking her up because when he took office the first time, he never took any real action to lock her up. But he certainly has moved forward with Drill Baby Drill, and any attempts at alternative energy are being blocked by this administration. They file lawsuits against wind farms. And they come up with legal and ecological reasons for their arguments. And they may be right, I don't know. This is not a new concept. It wasn't just Iran, it was OPEC that was the concern before, because OPEC controlled the price of petroleum, more so maybe than they do today. And we have been saying for national security reasons, we've got to get off of our fossil fuel desires in this country. And so, I don't know whether this is a fair assessment or not, but the arguments will be made, especially as it's made now, forever, and we have to wean ourselves from fossil, come up with alternative forms of energy. Sometimes we do successfully come up with them, and then push back against them like nuclear. I get that. But this administration has very decidedly moved in a different direction. adults. Because unfortunately, kids are coming on television or for some reason, this administration finds it to even consider alternate forms of create precedent for that when audiences go out between the president and the Congress. I don't think that romance really exists the way it did before, and I don't see
ושמחו בשמחת תורה, ותנו כבוד לתורה. שישו 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 ושמחו בשמחת תורה, בשמחת תורה, ותנו כבוד לתורה. שישו ושמחו 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 בשמחת תורה, ותנו כבוד לתורה. שישו ושמחו, או שישו ושמחו, או שישו שישו בשמחת תורה. שישו ושמחו, או שישו ושמחו, או שישו שישו בשמחת תורה. שישו ושמחו בשמחת תורה, ותנו כבוד לתורה. 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 שישו ושמחו בשמחת תורה,